it's Amy, and today in my kitchen, I'm making zucchini crumb cake. If you thought zucchini is just for bread or sauteing or frying, I'm here to show you another delicious sweet treat you can make with garden fresh zucchini. This crumb cake is topped with a really delicious buttery streusel and a cinnamon glaze. So let's get started. First up, you're gonna need your mixing bowl, and you're gonna add in 3/4 cup of softened butter. To that, you're gonna add 1/2 cup of light brown sugar and 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. Let's mix that up for about 3 minutes. Okay, that looks pretty good. You really wanna make sure that your butter is mixed in with those sugars. To this, we're gonna add 2 eggs and a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. You can measure it, but I like to just measure with what my heart tells me. And we're gonna beat this up again for another minute or so till those eggs get incorporated. I'm gonna scrape down the sides of the bowl, make sure the butter isn't sticking to the bowl. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's add in our dry ingredients. We've got 1 3/4 cup of flour, and you wanna make sure you're using all-purpose flour here. I have 2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt, and I've got a teaspoon of cinnamon. Cinnamon goes so well with zucchini. Let's mix that up just until it's combined. Okay, that looks great. And now we're gonna add in the star of the show, which is 2 cups of shredded zucchini. Now, if you're using zucchini that you've already frozen, you wanna make sure that you press out all of that liquid that's in it. This is freshly shredded zucchini, so it might be a little bit drier. And in that case, you wanna let it sit in your batter for about 15 minutes before you bake your cake. And that allows it to release its natural juices to make your batter a little more moist. So once we add it in, we'll know if the texture is good to go. All right, let's mix that in. This batter actually looks pretty good. You can see that it's moist and everything's mixed well. Sometimes you might have a drier batter. In that case, you're definitely going to want to let that zucchini sit in there for a little bit. So we're going to pour our zucchini cake batter here into a 13 by 9. I've lined it with parchment paper. All right, I'm going to use an offset spatula here to spread it out. Okay, that looks great. All right, next up, we're going to make the crumb topping. So to this bowl, I'm going to add 3/4 cup of brown sugar, 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and a teaspoon of cinnamon. We've got a cup of flour, and I've got 1/2 cup of melted butter. We're gonna mix all of that together just until it forms a little bit of a crumb. It becomes almost like a thick paste. So you wanna make sure you get everything mixed well. We're gonna take our pan, and you're gonna just kind of drop it on there. You can also use your hands if you like, which is a great way to make sure that you're breaking up the big clumps and spreading it out. And you're gonna evenly spread that out over the whole top of the crumb cake here. We're gonna take our binder clips off and put this in the oven at 350 for about 35 to 40 minutes. I'll be back. Okay, we've let our crumb cake cool. It is out of the oven and it's ready for icing, because you can't have a zucchini crumb cake without a sweet cinnamon glaze. So let's get that glaze made. Okay, for the glaze, you're gonna need 1 cup of powdered sugar, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. I'm gonna add in 1/3 cup of heavy whipping cream. Okay, let's whisk this together. And if it's too thick, you can always add in more cream. And if it's too thin, you can add in more powdered sugar. But this looks to be the perfect consistency. And you are just gonna drizzle this over your cake just like that. And it takes about 15 minutes for that heavy cream mixture to harden. So we're gonna let it harden before we dig into this cake. You can also quick set it in the refrigerator if you'd like. This cake, fortunately, does not need to be stored in the refrigerator, which is great. You just cover it and keep it at room temperature, and it's fresh for about a week. Okay, that looks fantastic. All right, let's cut into this. I love using parchment paper because you can just pull it out of the pan like that and slice into it. Okay, look how good this looks. You can see the flecks of green zucchini in there. That streusel on top is so good. Enjoy.